John Singer Sargent was a great Victorian Edwardian artist. He was one of the great portraitists. He was known for his dashing high society portraits. He was also a great, in his spare time, he was a landscape painter. And before World War I, he was fed up with portraits. He hated taking commissions and having to make people look better than he thought they were or whatever, to sort of falsify. And when the war broke out, he was such an internationalist. He didn't want to have anything to do with the war. In the British Propaganda Office, he was an Anglo-American. He lived in London. And the British Propaganda Ministry urged him to make some art that would help further the Anglo-American cause in the war. And Sargent refused. He didn't want to have anything to do with it. He just thought the war was idiotic. And then at one point, his beloved niece, who often went on sketching expeditions with him, was killed in a German bombardment. And at that point, he agreed to go to the front and do some paintings, but he didn't want to do any propaganda imagery. So he did a series of gorgeous watercolors of soldiers in respite, relaxing or sitting on riverbanks, reading, picking fruit, all this lovely thing. But then one day he saw a column of soldiers that had white gauze across their eyes, and they'd been blinded in a mustard gas attack. And he was struck by that. I think nobody could be more upset by blindness than an artist, by somebody like Sargent who lives his life by looking and using his eyes. And he sees dozens of columns of men with their eyes blindfolded being marched to a hospital tent. And he decided he had to paint that. So when the war ended, he was asked to paint a painting for a Hall of Remembrance. And he does this, 12, 14 foot long horizontal image. It looks like a Greek frieze, but it's of countless men with their eyes blindfolded. And I think, as I argue in the book, it's really about blindness, about the blindness of war, about the moral blindness of warfare, there's a biblical prophecy, if the blind follow the blind, they'll all fall into a ditch. And I think he's using this as a metaphor for the state leading its people into the ditch, or in this case, the trench.